Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video I want to talk to you what it actually feels like to get tenure at a large American university. So if you don't know me, I'm a professor of innovation, strategy, and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out to get through graduate school that I decided to pay the favor forward and help you out. So recently, I was blessed to get tenure at my institution, and it's a very, very good institution. Most of you would recognize that particular school that I got tenure at, and I'm absolutely fortunate to get that, to have those people believe in me to be able to get tenure at this institution. It's in Florida, and it's a state institution. You probably can recognize which one it is. So I just want to sort of share what these feelings are, what sort of went through with, what did I do? What did it feel like? What was the whole process behind it? I just did a video on what is tenure, what does it mean to get tenure. Now this is kind of more along the feelings that you feel. So, and there's a lot of different feelings that go through it. So when you first get your PhD, you're not worried about tenure at all. You're worried about getting a job. And then once you get your job, your tenure track job, then all of a sudden you start thinking about what is called your tenure clock, and that is the length of time, however it is. It sort of varies at different institutions, but generally you probably want to think about it, 6 years or so. And at that 6-year mark, they're going to evaluate you and sort of think about, so this is a whole university, right? It's not just one person, it's a whole university. You can watch my last video where I talk about that they're going to evaluate you and think about, well, is this person worthy enough to be working at this particular institution? Do we want them here at this institution? And so you start getting really freaked out, right? So you start thinking about, in your first year, you're really happy to get a job when you get your first academic job, and you're just thankful, right? And so everything's sort of blissful and everything's going fine. And then in your second year, you really start thinking about this whole tenure clock, and you're like, I'm not going to make it. I'm freaking out, and I'm not going to be able to make it. And so you start working really hard. And then your third year, so at a lot of institutions, either at your second year or your third year, you get evaluated. And it's kind of like a prelim sort of tenure evaluation, where they're going to say, you're doing well, and if you're doing well, then you can keep going forward. And if not, then maybe you should look for a job. And at that moment, it's very stressful. You kind of sit down. I sat down with my department chair. We had a little conversation. And fortunately, they said I was doing well, that I can continue to sort of keep working at the same pace I'm doing. And so you just keep trudging along. And we're talking years, right? So that's the thing that you should recognize, is that this is not something that happens very quickly, but it happens over a course of several years. And you start sort of thinking about things. You start freaking out a little bit, and it kind of goes in waves, right? So sometimes you start, as your mind wanders and you start thinking about tenure, you're like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And then other times you start feeling that you are going to make it. But so where the sort of pinnacle happens is at the last little bit in your last year, where you actually have to get letters from other people, external letters of recommendation from other people at different schools, and they're going to recommend whether you should actually get tenure or not. And that moment when you're reaching out, or you sort of, your department chair or whoever it is reaching out to different people to get letters of recommendation, it's really stressful. It is, you don't like to ask, or you don't like the whole asking process of what happens, because they're evaluating you. Other people around the world are looking at your process or your progress and seeing what you are doing and what you've done, and they're going to evaluate you. And sometimes you get negative letters, and sometimes you don't get any letters at all, letters of recommendation. And when that happens, it sort of is a sign, either one of those, that you should go and find another place to live, right? That's what tenure means, is you have to get up and move and go to a different place. Now, some people can sort of work out deals and stuff like that to stay at their institution, but they're not going to be tenure track. They're going to be, maybe it's teacher track of some sort of teaching track, or maybe they're doing some sort of administration role. But they've sort of lost that tenure track if you stay at the institution. And a lot of people do that. It's not unusual to sort of see that. But at the same time, if you don't get those letters of recommendation, you're stressing out. So they send out the letters, they send out the asks for the letter of recommendation, and it takes, maybe it's, for me it was about 2 weeks, or 2 months, when they sort of started to when you go through this package. And at that moment, you've already written up your statement of purpose and told, you sort of tell other people what your research progress is. That's what a statement of purpose is, and your teaching sort of statement. And you go through all of that and you send it off. You have this little package. You send it off to somebody. Maybe it's your department chair or somebody that's sort of taking the lead. And then they're going to send it off to somebody else. And they're going to ask for these letter of recommendations. And so you wait for those letters of recommendations, and you wait to hear back from your department chair whether you're going to get it back. And in that process, you're really freaking out, you're really stressed, because you don't know what other people are thinking about you. And unfortunately, I did get letters back, and then it goes through to the committee, your department committee. And that day when it happened, for me, on the day that they were at the department level, where they were sort of meeting and sort of thinking about me, and sort of voting on my tenure process, I couldn't work at all. I tried to do some work. I was sitting there in my office, but I was so stressed out, I just could not work, and I didn't know what to do. I just kind of sat there and sort of stared at my computer screen, intermittently, writing a little bit here and there, and I was just really, really stressed out. And then my department chair came by. After I sort of saw that the meeting was ended, the department chair came by and sort of told me positive news. And I just didn't know what to do. So I kind of sat there, and I probably sat there for an hour. I didn't know who to talk to. I know some people have different reactions with this. Some people go and tell their spouses and stuff. I just didn't know what to do. So I sort of sat there and stared at my computer and, maybe tried to do a little bit of work, and I was just kind of processing what was going on. And then eventually I talked to my spouse, and, it was kind of anticlimactic at that moment, right? You're really happy. We told our kids that happened. We got through the department, and that we weren't going to have to move. My kids are 9 and 9 and 6 at the time. And it was, I was stressed out, but then we still had to go through other stages. And at that moment, so this is what I wanted to tell you about and sort of say that this was normal. It was weird because after I went through the department sort of meetings, or made it through the department level, I started to develop heart palpitations. And I think that was stress. I actually went to the emergency center one night because I didn't know what was going on. My heart was sort of beating really weird and irregularly. I could feel sort of twitching in my chest, and I was kind of like a little panicky. So I actually went to the physician to see what was going on, and it turned, they looked at me and they said, they basically asked me what was going on. And being in a university town, they're like, oh, okay, we get what's going on. Because I think they see a lot of people going in about this whole tenure process and dealing with the tenure process. I don't think it was unusual for me to experience that in any sort of way. The physicians were just like, oh, whatever, like this is normal. But for me, I was developing this weird heart palpitation sort of experience, which I've never experienced before. And it's like, I don't know if any of you have experienced, it's just kind of like stress, and your heart is kind of beating kind of weirdly, and you can feel it. I've experienced other things from the stress that through the whole tenure process, and as well as through the PhD process, like a weird eye twitch that eventually went away. That was during my PhD, at the tail end of my PhD, the last few years. And it's from stress, right? You get this weird eye twitch that happens. It's sort of just, you can't control it, and it just kind of moves. So there's all sorts of these stressful moments that happen. And then after that, we went through I tried to do the work that I was normally sort of going through and dealing with, the normal work, and it kind of got too much. We went through the university level. It actually went through and everything was fine. I was really happy to have that experience, to feel like that. But there was something else that was going on inside me that I didn't really realize what was going on inside me, that there was all this kind of stress that was sort of bottling up, and it kind of came out. And, I kind of went through a little midlife crisis, I guess you'd want to sort of call it. That it was this weird experience where I was just sort of thinking about all the decisions I made, all the sort of stuff that was going on in my life, and I just didn't know what to deal with it. And there was, a good couple of months where I was really just not productive at all, just really stressed out and sort of thinking about, what should I do now? This was going through the whole tenure process, and I didn't know what to do. And then I eventually got through the university level, and I was extremely ecstatic and very, very happy about that. My wife told my friends and family, and that was really cool to get that experience, but I was still feeling kind of oddly empty with these experiences. And I think this is normal, where you are sort of grappling with, okay, I worked for 15 years of my life, if not longer, right? So I started when I was basically 19, right, through university, and worked all the way my way through, and now I am 39 years old, and I eventually got tenure. So that was like, what is that? That's 20 years of my life that I was working towards getting tenure, and I eventually did get tenure. And now you just have to think about, like, what do I do now, right? So tenure means that gives you a little bit more flexibility and sort of the things you want to pursue and your life that you want to choose. And I was really grappling with that for months, 4 or 5 months. And I think I'm starting to come to terms with it now. I'm still in the process. I'm not going to admit that I'm perfect and I don't have these sort of weird experiences on a regular basis. The heart palpitations disappeared. The eye twitch disappeared. All these kind of weird experiences like that, those have totally disappeared. And I've been working at and developing, going through how to deal with some of these things and sort of reframing my life and rethinking about my life. And I think you're going to go through the exact same experiences or similar experiences. I've talked to other people that have gone through tenure, other professors, and they kind of have very similar things. At the end of it, they just are like, I don't know what to do. You kind of get this, what's called the post-tenure slump, where you're just kind of wandering and you're not knowing what to do. Lots of people take, several years, maybe it's even 5 years, sort of to recuperate and think about this. But hopefully you get back on the wagon and keep doing the things that you're doing. And that's what I kind of just kept working through it and kept trying to do my thing and not trying to get overwhelmed with the stuff that I've gone through. But at the same time, I'm dealing with processing this stuff and sort of thinking about my life and reframing my life. I know this whole reciprocity project is a big part of the next stage of my life. I think it's important to help other people, to sort of pass it forward, to go through these experiences, to know that you're totally normal, and then keep building out sort of applications and things to help you as much as possible as graduate students, as other faculty, as people that are dealing with the university system. That is going to be part of what I'm going to do, and as well as trying to produce more valid science and to improve sort of science in this area and organizations, and continue on doing that. And the research component of it, I think it's going to be a bigger part of what I'm trying to do, and keep working at that, building up a team of people that are going to work on this project. And that's what that's my next stage, and that's what I'm trying to do. Work on a couple more papers and stuff, and trying to finish up those papers I'm working on the medical device industry. But in general, I think that this is an important thing. I think that there's other people experiencing this, given that there's so much traction. And I'm more than happy to continue on building this thing out. So that's me at this moment. I'm convincing myself that's what I want to do. But a lot of us, including myself, are kind of wandering through this, and that's totally fine. And just know that it's fine. When you get these experiences, when you go through and you get all these weird feelings during tenure, everybody experiences differently. Some of you are going to be not married, some of you are going to be single, some of you are going to have more kids than me, some of you are not going to get tenure. Just know all of these feelings are completely normal that you feel, and know that the whole tenure process is not really you. It's not reflecting on you. It's reflecting on this course of work that has happened. And often this course of work is a symptom of many other different things, right? So that's one thing I do know of studying organizations and performance, is that there's many different reasons why sort of performance sort of varies behind the scenes. And some people just have one sort of experience, and they think that that's the way that sort of tenure should be and what should happen during the process. But other people have other experiences, and just know if you don't get tenure, you're not strange, you're not sort of a bad person, you're actually doing probably all the right things that you should be doing in your life, but you just haven't fit the right match. Your environment is not fitting who you are, and so you just keep exploring and keep finding the things that trying to find who you are, and then you'll find the right place for you. And really know that this is total normal in terms of feeling weird feelings and stress and just craziness that happens. You're not alone. There's lots of people out there like me. I was extremely fortunate to get tenure. I don't take that as like, oh, I did everything right. I did a lot of things wrong. And I was fortunate to sort of just be at the right place in the right time to get it. And there's lots of people that are going through this experience that they might not get it, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just know that you're doing the right things. Just keep doing the things that you're doing and keep pushing forward, and try to find yourself. And then things will sort of sort itself out. Not a big believer that there's one sort of way of doing this. There's many different ways. We have many different trajectories, many different lives, and just know that you'll stumble upon that and you'll find the right thing for you. All right, so if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.